Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Richard Wilmore.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Make Your Day Richer. Get ready, because just get ready. This should be our Halloween episode, but it isn't, because my guest is here to share a story so intense it became the inspiration for his new book. He's going to take us back to when he was 16 years old and a seemingly innocent game with a Ouija board turned into a true life trauma that resulted in a friend's death. This is the unbelievable, chilling story behind his young adult novel, Marked by the Ouija. He's going to tell us why he finally decided to share this 38-year-old secret. His name is Scott Wells, and he's here, and I'm a little afraid. Hit it, Big Infinite.
Make your day richer than it was before. Got some good times knocking upon your front door.
Scott, thank you so much for being here. There we go.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and congratulations on your young adult novel, Marked by the Ouija. Now it scares me a little bit, but on a scale of look behind you in the dark to not being able to sleep, where does this book lie?
So it really depends on the individual person. I've actually had people that have told me that they haven't been able to sleep for 2 days. Well, not that they haven't been able, that it's given them nightmares for 2 days. And this is
Wow.
that was coming from someone that reads thrillers and horrors and is a very avid reader. My niece, who is a true crime enthusiast, she had to break it up into 3 different sections because and she's heard the story 100 times. So for me, just personally speaking, I've told this story thousands of times over the years, and I still get goosebumps when I tell the story. It just brings me back to that experience and everything that happened, and so it's been quite a journey. But I still get goosebumps after 38 years.
Well, yeah, because it's based on real events. Tell everybody what they'll find in the book, what the book is about.
So the book's about my personal true Ouija board experience when I was 16. And I grew up in a small farming town, and of course, in small towns you have to make your own fun, and there's nothing else there. So I ended up finding a Ouija board. It was Parker Brothers or Milton Bradley or something. It was cardboard and plastic. I didn't believe it. I thought, whenever I heard the stories about Ouija boards, I thought it was I thought it was like old wooden boards with like thousands of years of souls trapped inside, and this was not anything even remotely close to that. So I just didn't believe it. Well, throughout the experience, I was working one night, and my friends were waiting for me. I had 2 friends waiting for me to get off work, and they were at my house waiting, and they started snooping around. They were bored, and they found the Ouija board in my room and decided, well, what the heck, let's play it. And they had their own experience where they called me at work and told me about their experience. And they were so freaked out, they told me that they ended up burning the board in a back garbage can in my backyard. And of course, I was ticked. I'm like, first off, you go and just snoop around my room, and you invade my privacy. But I think I was more upset and that they got to play it before I did. So the following week, just for a side note, to this day, those 2 friends have never talked to me. They will not talk to me. I've tried, for quite a while after the experience. I tried to just talk to them because I had my own experience and I wanted to compare notes, and they didn't want anything to do with me. They're like, anything, it scared them that bad.
If I
So,
was a better host, I'd be like, and they're here. And then I would bring them out when you talk.
right, right. They were like, oh, this is my Oprah experience. You know?
Yes, that's what I'm waiting for. Yes.
Right. So the following week, my two other friends, it was fraternal twin brothers that lived 2 doors down from me. We decided to play with the board. And what happened, what transpired over the next 10 to 12 hours was nothing that I could have ever imagined or never would wish for anyone. And that ended up basically one of those friends dying. And I found I had all of this guilt for years that my friend died as a result of playing with my board, and it was devastating. I mean, it affected my life in a lot of ways, and it took me some really deep, dark moments, and I was homeless for a while. I went through a couple of years of making bad decisions, and when I decided that like I need to find a way out of this because I can't live my life this way, I started to write the book. And when I was writing the book, then a lot of things came to light of the reason that my friend died, and it wasn't my fault. And once I got past that and got out of my head, then my life turned around. But it's a crazy story. We were talking to a guy. His name was Peter. He had told us that his sister had been kidnapped and was bound and gagged in this old boarded up house in town. And this town that I grew up in, it's a small farming town in Idaho. It was one of those towns you knew everybody. And I'm like, there's no boarded up houses in town. And it gave us an address. So still get goosebumps. So we ended up going over. We drove to the address, and I'll be damned, there was a little boarded up house there that I'd never seen before, and we spent the next 10 to 12 hours going between the house and back in the board, the back house and back to my house with the board, trying to figure out if not only this was true, but if it were true, how could we save Chastity, his sister? And he had told us that the kidnapper who had kidnapped her and was keeping her in the house was going to kill her and burn the house down. And we were 16. We had no idea what we were not the Hardy Boys, but we did our best. And finally, we started about Sunday at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and at around Monday at 8 o'clock, we realized that all three of us are going to skip school today. We're not going to school. We're exhausted. We're amped up. We have no idea what's going on. And so we went back to the board, and my friend, which was interesting, during the course of the entire night, whenever we addressed the board and asked questions, it never responded to any question that I asked or any question that one of the other brothers asked. It only responded to the other brother. And so he was frustrated, and he said, this is BS. This isn't true. We're not going back to the house. We'd already been back to the house 3 times, and just looking through the boards, all throughout the night. We took flashlights, and a car slowly drove past twice, and we had to hide because we thought, well, if it is true, if this could be the kidnapper or killer, and he could follow us, it was just a crazy, twisted story. But we finally went back, and my friend said, the one that it was responding to said, this is BS. This isn't true. We're not going back to the house. This is a joke. I don't know what's going on, but this is a joke. And the board said, used his name specifically, and said, if you don't help me and help my sister, you will die the same way that I died. Well, the first question we asked Peter was, how did he die? And he said that he died in a car accident. He was 16. He died in a car accident. And so at that point, we thought, let's go back one more time. Let's check it out. It was daylight at this point. So we went back, we tried to pull the boards off. We tried to look for, footprints. We listened for sounds, anything that there was some indication that there was someone inside or someone had been there recently. And there was nothing. So finally we went, I said, well, let's go to the sheriff. So I went to the sheriff. Of course, he didn't believe us. And the sheriff lived about a block and a half from my parents' house and knew my parents. And he said, if you don't go to school, then I'm going to take you in my cruiser and I'm going to call your parents. And he said, Scott, I know your dad, and I know your dad's going to beat your butt if he finds out you're skipping school, and I had to take you to school in my cruiser, which is very true. I was terrified of my dad. So, but he acted weird. And I just chalked that up to all the adrenaline and everything that had happened the previous 12 hours and didn't think much about it. Well, 10 years later, we forgot about it. We graduated from high school. 10 years later, I went back home to visit my parents, and my mom was one of those ladies that she kept every card that I made for her for Mother's Day, every story that I had written, every trophy, every ribbon, everything, ever since, first and second grade. And she had it in a drawer, and I had some extra time, so I was going through that drawer and it's kind of going down memory lane. And I got to the bottom of the drawer, and I noticed that there was a stack of papers, just about the size of Post-it notes, that were stapled together, and it was wedged underneath the bottom of the drawer, almost like you had to take the drawer out and put it in there and put the drawer back in, like I was hiding it. And I finagled it out, and I realized that it was the notes from that night. And I just want to say this story and this book is not advocating the use of Ouija boards. I've never used it since. This is just my personal experience with it, and I was the scribe. So I did ask questions that were never responded to, but I found this stack of notes that I had written down, all the letters and everything from the beginning to the end, and I had stapled them together with the date. Well, I read them, and of course it took me back to that experience, and it just freaked me out. And I thought, well, my friends are in town, I'd heard, so I'm going to go over and see them. So I went over to see them, and one of the brothers answered the door, and we talked for, I don't know, maybe 5-10 minutes or so, and just kind of caught up. And I asked him, well, where's his other brother? And he said, you didn't hear. I said, hear what? And he said, he died in a car accident. And I froze because I just read those notes an hour before, and I said, do you remember that night? Well, first I asked him, I said, when did he die? And he said, it's a day I'll never ever forget. And he told me the date. And I talk a lot I have lots of stories to tell. I've had I think, a pretty interesting life, and it shut me up. It's hard to do that, but it shut me up. And I said, "Do you remember that experience when we played with the board?" And I got that far, and he cut me off, and he said, I could see it on his face. I mean, his face went white, his eyes, went huge, his jaw dropped a little bit, and he said, "I do remember, and you know what? That house burned down too." So that's what the story is about this experience. And then of course I felt those guilty feelings for years. And when I started writing the book and started going through all of my feelings and thinking it through, and at this point I had learned quite a bit more about Ouija boards and things like that and the paranormal, and I realized why my friend died. And that, which is the title of the book. He was marked by the Ouija. I realized why he was marked. And I don't want to give it away, because I would love for people to read the story and to get it themselves. But there was a reason that he was marked, and I didn't find this out until later. But once I got through that, I wrote the story, and it is 98% true. I obviously had to change the names. There's kind of two stories in one. There's the one story about my experience and my friend dying as a result of this from the threat from the board, but there's the other story about his sister. And when that house burned down, there was no body found. And I can't prove it, but I put it in the book, the reason that I believe what happened with his sister. And I believe that it had something to do with the sheriff. So it's a crazy story, but one of the things that I when I was writing it, when I've been marketing the book and talking about it and podcasts and going to different shows and talking to people, I realized that horror and paranormal stories, it's not just about scaring people. It's about survival. It's about resiliency. And survival is one of the most empowering things that you can have. When you've gone through a traumatic experience and you have found yourself on the other side of it, it is very empowering because it changes the way that you look at life. It changes the way that you feel about yourself. It changes the way that you make decisions and you handle difficulties and challenges in your life. So a lot of people think that horror is just, scary and jump scares and, spine tingling, and, the hair on the back of your neck standing up. And it is, and that's a big part of it. But on a deeper scale, it is about, there's a lot of emotional benefits to it that people can get. And let me just say one more thing. I know it's a long answer, but one of the things that has turned out, or one of the expected things that's turned up, that's happened because of this book, is I've spoken with thousands of people all over the world. They've shared their stories with me, and one of the things that I'm very, very proud of, and I did not expect from the book, was people who have had traumatic experiences, paranormal, horror, or other experiences. There's a stigma attached to that, and they don't feel comfortable talking about it for fear of being judged or bullied or humiliated, or just all these negative feelings. And so they keep it inside. And one of the things that I'm very, very proud of that I seems to be a, something that seems to be emerging that I'm really, really hoping continues. And that's why I want to get the word out and talk about it and get people talking about it. Because the more you talk about it, the less you fear it. But these people that have shared these experiences with me know that they can share their experiences and talk about their experiences without the feeling or thought of being judged or bullied or ridiculed or humiliated. And that's something I'm really proud of, because I've lived through it myself. You know, you say something about it, and you talk about it, and there's been people that have lost family and friends over it. And so people hold it inside and bottle it up. And I want people to be able to talk about that. The more they talk about that and vent and get it out, then the better their lives will be. There was a guy that I talked to at one of the shows, and he and his wife had stopped by my booth, and she had she had said, "Just for the record, I just want to tell you, I'm Catholic. I don't want to talk about this. And she was at a horror convention with her husband, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting." But she said, I'm not interested in bringing this in my life. And her husband said, well, honey, why don't you just keep on walking? I'll catch up with you. And he waited. I saw him wait until she was, far enough away. And he turned around to me and he said, I've had my own experience. And he said, I'm 55. When I was 5 or 6, he said, I don't remember which one. I was 5 or 6, and my uncle brought a Ouija board into our house, and played with it. And something attached to me because of that. And for 50 years, he's been living with something that has attached to him. Yeah. And it's crazy, isn't it? And he told me that his wife, on a regular basis, will wake him up in the middle of the night and tell him that he is talking in his sleep, but he's talking in a very gruff voice. It's not his voice. And he's speaking in a language that neither one of them have ever heard before. And she recorded it and played it for him. He didn't play it for me. He didn't have it with him, but it was clear that there's something's attached. And he couldn't talk about it, and his wife certainly is not going to talk about it. And I said, so what are you doing about it? And he said, I've lived with it for 50 years. I just ignore it. And I said, you can't do that. I said, the longer that you live with it, the more it's going to wear you down, and the weaker you get, the stronger it gets. And so I gave him some. I'm not and I don't proclaim to be an expert in this. But I have learned a lot, and I have met some experts and some amazing people in the field. And so I kind of gave him some ideas on how he could address it and get rid of it. And he said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to poke the beast. I just want to ignore it. And I said, the longer you ignore it, it's already affecting his marriage. It's going to affect his children's lives. It's going to affect his grandchildren's lives. And he's like, I just don't want to, I'm talking to you about it because I know you understand, but I can't talk about it with anyone else. And I found that same story with so many other people. And so that's what I was saying, on one of the side effects of this is that it's become a safe space for people to talk about it and get it off their chest and hopefully be able to deal with it. I'm really proud of that.
Oof. Not that I don't want people to connect with you, but this is the craziest thing. And if people do want to connect with you and share their stories and find more about you and the book, how do they do that out there in the world?
My website, which is scottwellsauthor.com. So, I would love to hear from people. It is something to be aware of, but it's something that the other thing that I found out from talking, I realized from talking to all these people is 100% of the people that have used the board and have followed the correct protocol have never had a negative experience with it. 100%. However, on the flip side, everyone, 100% of the people that have used the board and haven't followed the protocol, haven't followed the procedure, have had a negative experience, including myself. And we just didn't know. And I've talked to literally thousands of people over the last couple of months that have never used it, that want to do it. They're intrigued by it. Oh, I want to do it, want to do it. And I'm like, all right, everyone's there to make up your own mind. I'm not going to tell anyone what to do. However, if you choose to do it, please educate yourself, research yourself. And I actually put together it's a Ouija safety guide. And it's the 13 rules that you should always use if you do choose to use the board. And that is available on Substack for subscribers on Substack. They can actually download that for free. But that, I think, will help people everyone's curious. Everyone wants to know what they don't know, especially teenagers and the younger crowd. They're like, I don't believe this. This is just a game. Well, it's not a game, even though Hasbro says that it's, the ages are 8 and up. It's very easy to connect with the other side. They want to connect with us. I've had one lady, I don't know why I pointed behind me. There's one lady that told me that she even went on Google and she printed off a template on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and that worked. So it's very easy to do that. They want to connect with us, and there's a lot of reasons that people want to do it, but just do it responsibly. Do your research and make sure that you follow those 13 rules before you even touch the board, because I don't want anyone else to have the same experience that I had. I want them to have, if they do it, I want them to have positive experience. And there are plenty of people out there that have had positive experiences.
I'm one of those people that have never used it. I have never wanted to use it. I have no desire. And after this, there's never. Scott, before we leave today, will you play a game with me?
Absolutely.
It's not a Ouija board game. It's a game for everyone involved. Can you imagine?
Clearly love games.
All of that time that you haven't used it, and then I take one out. Okay. It's called 3 in 5. Okay?
Okay.
I'm going to give you categories. You have 5 seconds to name 3 things in that category.
Okay.
If you win 3 out of 5, the entire non-existent studio audience gets a copy of Marked by the Ouija. Okay?
Woo-hoo!
No pressure. There's a lot of people in here waiting. All right. Are you ready?
Right.
Name 3 things you'd find in a haunted house.
Cobwebs, spiders, and eerie feelings.
Perfect.
Spine-tingling chills.
1 down, 2 to go. Name 3 emotions that show up in a great ghost story.
Fear, anxiety, and confidence. I think confidence can come from there as well.
Yeah, good one. Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. Okay, last one. If you get this one, entire non-existent studio audience gets a copy of the book. Name 3 ways people try to contact spirits.
First is Ouija boards. Second is through mediums. And the third, there's a variety of reasons, or a variety of ways. You could also do the pendulum. All 3 of those will work.
You did it. Everyone here is clapping so loud for their copy of Marked by the Ouija. And I thank you for coming on and playing the game and sharing your story. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me. It's been great. And this podcast is something that I've always once I went through my trials and tribulations and have been able to come out on the other side. One of the things that I've really enjoyed and love doing is helping to inspire other people to push past their fear and to chase their passion project, chase their dream. You know, fear is crippling, but it also is empowering. So if anyone out there, if you have a passion project, if you have something that you've been wanting to do, don't let fear stop you. Do it. Do it. And it may take time. You don't have to do it all in one day. Just do something every day.
Well, I'm still not going to play with a Ouija board, but I thank you for being here. Scott Wells, the book is called Marked by the Ouija. We're going to take a break and be right back after this. Don't go away.
You know what would be better than watching this commercial? Watching your commercial. Join the party that is Make Your Day Richer TV by advertising your brand, business, or project during the show. Use us to promote what you're doing to make our viewers' day richer. Scan the QR code or visit makeyourdayricher.com/advertising to start promoting today.
Welcome back. We survived, and I hope I can sleep tonight. Yikes. Have a great weekend, everyone. Go make your day richer. Go make somebody else's day richer. You've made mine by watching the show, and I love you for it. Hey, there is a new episode of Introspection. It's a podcast that I am lucky enough to get to help with from Amy Lindner-Lesser over there at Introspection. Take a look.
And I'm a Weisenheimer, folks. I'm going to be the first to admit it. And I normally, when it says something, call for pizza, who cares? When it starts to smell, you'll find it, right? That's me. Like, I am sobbing at the table, just tears pouring down my face. I am devastated that she has lost her pork chop. There's no reason to be devastated over a lost pork chop. It's just not.
No.
But it was good because it meant something's wrong. Something's very, very wrong, and I don't know what it is. And I went straight to Mary Hearing, and I said, something's wrong. And I told her the situation, and she said, yeah, we're going to get you straight into our person who's our MSW, Masters of Social Work, who helps people like you to discuss things. And so I met with her, and I told her the situation.
You can learn more about Amy and everything she's doing at introspection.com. That's INN Introspection. And she's amazing, so check her out. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.